In your career, you will meet only a few people whose impression will be everlasting. I know a few people like that, and today's guest is one among them. The person who I admire a lot, he is like a younger brother to me. In the past, we have even done a course together that helped a lot of students learning React and Next.js. I'm so grateful to have Sumit Saha, the founder of Learn with Sumit and co-founder of Analyzen, as a guest of TapaScript Lab today. We are going to discuss a lot of things. We are going to discuss a lot about JavaScript, React, state management, all these things. But also, I want to get a few guidance how to cope up with this FOMO and fear in 2025 at the age of AI, while people are still thinking of is it a right time to start learning web development. Let's get those answers from him. I'm sure you are going to enjoy this one, and if you do so, don't forget to like this video, and if you have any questions while you are watching, please go ahead and post this question in the comment below. I'm going to make sure that I'll revert back to you with the answer. Without any further delay, let me welcome Sumit Shah. Hello Sumit, how are you doing?
Hi, Tapusda. Yeah, I'm doing fine. What about you?
I'm doing great. Actually, a lot of work. CreoVis is keeping me busy. Among that, I thought of this particular episode of the Prescript Lab should go, and I'm eager to meet to you, talk to you, and want to chat a lot. So thanks for coming. Thanks for accepting the invite.
Thank you so much, Tapusda. It's always been a pleasure to connect with you, and I'm super excited to be here on Upper Script. And you are one of my favorite people in the dev community, and it's always a blast chatting with you. Thanks for having me on your podcast. Really looking forward to this fun and insightful session. Thank
Awesome,
you.
awesome, great. So, for folks who are actually seeing us, Sumit and myself actually we are going in a long way. I think 2023 was the time we first met. Was it
Yeah,
2023? Yeah. So
yeah.
2023, he pulled a great show in his country, Bangladesh, Dev Conference, and that was the first time I was invited there as a speaker, and I could see like what Sumit Saha means over there, and kind of his popularity, the way that people love him, the students like him, the way they actually perceive him as a teacher. There's a huge, huge respect for him over there. So that was really fascinating to see Sumit that time. I'm going to touch base some of these things, like how you have come to that, like your content creation journey, being a teacher, the challenges, the success, and everything. But today, I think one other point that we want to focus on, and that might really sound good to all of you who are listening to and or viewing us, is like we want to talk a little bit about the state management, because this is one topic I think is widely misunderstood. Even people ask every time to me, I'm sure it's a case for Sumit also, is like, should I use Redux always with React? And there is the answer is always not very clear. So let's hear from someone who not only know Redux but also have done in-depth course on Redux. So he should be able to put a lot of lights into that. But before going there, Sumit, why don't you talk about a little bit more about your background, like what you do and your passion area and all the stuff.
Okay. Thanks, Tapusda. So, hello everyone. I'm Shumit. I am actually a devoted father right now. A devoted father and husband. Definitely, I have to say husband. And also, I'm a respectful son. And then my further introduction will come. And I'm basically a passionate programmer, educator, content creator, whatever you say, with deep love for web development. And I have been building web apps for the last 15 years, working with technologies like JavaScript, React, Node.js, MongoDB. And I started my career with PHP and MySQL. So, alongside my professional work, I enjoy teaching programming through online courses, webinars, and my YouTube channel called Learn with Shumit. You can definitely check out that YouTube channel. That's something similar like Upper Script. I also love creating VS Code extensions. I enjoy doing that and developer tools to make coding more fun and productive. I not always I shared those with people, but I develop VS Code extensions and I use it for myself. On top of that, I'm an accidental entrepreneur, I would say. I run a small company called Analyzen, which is a tech marketing firm based in Bangladesh. That's all about me. Over to you,
Hmm.
Tapan.
Yeah, and I think he is being a little bit modest. So he has definitely that YouTube channel. The link is in the description of this video, so you can go ahead and check it out. And I personally learned a lot recently because I was part of doing a course with him.
Yeah.
Of course, the idea of this podcast is not to sell that course. Don't take me wrong. It's a course in Bangla. Um, uh, and I had a remarkable experience in terms of going through the entire process, the learning, the team that he handles for delivering the content, delivering his YouTube stuff, delivering his courses has been really really amazing. And I actually took a lot of things from that. Might do something for Tapascript in future. But yeah, thanks for inspiring me. When we worked on that course.
Definitely, it was an inspiring journey. We learned React together, a better way. In a
Yeah.
better way, we were updated with the latest tech stuffs. Otherwise, we might not check those things
Hmm.
of our own. So it was a great experience, and the students enjoyed it.
Yeah, that's true. So one question related to that. I personally feel that if you want to learn something really deep, the relevant documentation is something that you should always bank for, because people who they have created the documentation. All of
Right.
us, like content creators, are learning from them. People who are writing articles are learning from them, and then we are creating our own use case based solution in our videos and the things. But I also see that a lot of folks don't want to go to the documentation.
Right.
They feel it is boring. They feel it's like too much. What kind of mindset that a developer, especially a beginner developer who wants to learn, say, React, and they have react.dev, they have your channel, my channel, and thousands other things to go for. What should be their step for learning React in a really depth way?
Uh, Honestly speaking, Kapusda, documentation is always overwhelming for beginners
Mm.
because the terms that are used in the documentations are really tough, I would say, because the people who are writing the documentation, they are actually senior devs. So senior people will most of the time they will assume that people will understand this stuff, but
Right.
things don't work like this for beginners, so we have to write it in a very with giving examples like analogy and
Mm.
these things. So documentation, I think it's really tough for developers to start things off with documentation, and that's where Script, Learn with Shumi, this type of channels, YouTube channels and tutorials comes in. So we do the thing, we actually check the documentation, we know what's happening there, and then we simplify them for the beginners, and that's the effort that we are putting into, and that's why people like us, because we solve their starting problem. Because for web developers or for programmers, starting problem is the biggest problem. It's
Mm.
like car. Sometimes the engine starting is the main thing, like the auto rickshaws and everything like that. They just pray to God, please start it. So if it starts, then it goes on. So uh, programming learning is something like that, and this is the most toughest stage of a web developer or a programmer, the starting problem. Because
Mm.
if you look back, you will understand that though you and me, we both were CSE grads, but still we suffered a lot. We suffered a lot. We had to, and in our times there were no resources.
Mm.
So there were no YouTube channels, there were no easy access of internet, there were no free documentations, open source code suggestions or something like that. So we had to struggle. We had to really struggle. But right now, beginners get YouTube channels like Script, like Learn with Shumit, or and these are really helpful for them. That's why when we meet young developers, you will see the joy their expression, that they are really grateful to us for solving their starting problem. So I
Absolutely.
think that's the real story behind it.
Yeah, yeah. That
Documentation and
start,
everything.
I think that start is very important. Once they
Start
get
is
the
very
start,
important.
they can also figure out themselves. And
Yeah.
also, I think a good teacher or a good content creator would always kind of lead them towards the documentation eventually. Because
Right.
even if you are doing, say, teaching React, you will eventually lead them towards react.dev. Okay, if you have to learn more, you can actually go
Right.
there or do these things. So they will start, and then they will build the practice of reading the documentation as well.
everything. And one more point here to mention, that when you go to react.dev, the react.dev documentation assumes that you know JavaScript. But most of the developers, without learning JavaScript, they jump into React, so they have no idea what's behind. So that's the connectivity, that's the storytelling that needs to be done. So that's where I think we educators have immense role to play. So that's where we are working. And as a teacher, though I am working for 15 years, definitely people will consider me as a senior dev, but I still find challenges, uh, 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 challenges explaining hard stuff to beginners, because that's the most challenging thing, because you have to think like a beginner, you have to go back and think like a beginner where you were 15 years before. So that's very challenging. So people who think like the senior developers who watch our tutorials or check our tutorials, who might get bored, oh, I know this stuff, why are you explaining so much? But it's really important for the beginners, because they
True.
know the importance.
True, very true. Okay, you spoke about JavaScript,
Yeah.
and people are speaking about DeepSeek. Uh,
Yeah.
so wherever I go, DeepSeek follows. So it's like that happening at least for a week now. And also, I'm reading lot of things on social media, maybe on LinkedIn, or sometime on X and Facebook as well. It's like uh, a part of developer. Again, these are beginners. They seems to be widely demotivated. Okay, where they understand that AI is something superb. I can use ChatGPT now. I can use DeepSeek or whatever. But somebody is telling me that for web development again I have to start from JavaScript.
Yeah.
But this all this AI tools, whatever code I ask, it's just going to vomit that code in front of me, and I just need to kind of take and use it. Then is it still relevant to learn things like JavaScript in 2025? And if it is so, is like how much we should learn? That is a very, very, I think, legit question that comes today.
Okay, so anyhow, we need to learn, because DeepSeek or whatever technology that comes in, we have to give them prompt, right prompt, and right prompt needs to be given in a technical language. Like, for example, our parents, like, they are backdated, they're old people. If they write the prompts like, build me a website where these things will happen, uh, will they be able to finally develop a complete software? No, they will not. So only developers or programmers who have some understanding on coding, who have some understanding on logic building or something like that, who can prepare the storyboard, he or she can actually give right prompt and get better results. So, but a complete software, I think AI is way more behind, because developing a complete software takes so much efforts. It's not only about coding. There are so many things about thinking. Most of the things remain in our brain, like the software architect or the team lead or the project manager or the project owner or the senior software engineer or the front end engineer. Not everything are inside the code, because lots of things remain in our head. And after organizing a very good code base and deploying that, if you don't work on that project for 6 months, if you comes back to the code base, you will forget everything.
Yeah.
You will have to dig down everything again.
Yeah.
Because we cannot actually just vomit everything of whatever inside our brain in the code base. There are so many things relies in our brain. So ChatGPT or whatever AI technology comes in, they only understand, or they only can get trained off from the GitHub repository or public code base or whatever available in the code. But how they will understand that remains in our brain. They will not understand that, and no one can train them what a human brain can do. So there is a gap always. So the gap will remain, and if the gap eliminates someday, I think 100 years later or 50 years later, I am not bothered about that, because I live in present, and I believe that programmers will get more jobs in near future, because uh, for example, the valuation of software will increase, because the demand of softwares will increase, because AI tools will definitely enrich the valuation of softwares, because right now people are doing small stuffs like a small mobile app or whatever it is, and they are doing good business. Yeah, but in near future you have to build more better softwares, but the software valuation will be higher.
Right.
Okay, so opportunities. This is actually opportunity. If we consider about the medical profession, there are so many technological advancement in the medical sector. Like the doctors are getting lots of machineries and equipments, which are actually analyzing their stuffs. But uh, are the doctors irrelevant in 2024? No, we have to consult to doctors. So programmers have to play the role of doctors, like they know the software, they know the
Mm.
problem. And if ChatGPT gives us 20,000 line of code, vomits 20,000 line of code, and if you just copy and paste it, if somewhere breaks, what will you do? You have to understand, you have to dig down to that code base. So I think this is ridiculous thinking of that these things will replace actual programmers. Definitely they will replace the beginner programmers. Right now some beginner programmers earn, we know that,
Mm.
in freelance marketplace or whatever it is. Yes, the beginner definition will change, the standard of beginners will increase,
Mm.
but the relevancy of programmers will never go away.
Exactly. I think I definitely agree with that point, that the standard and the definition of each of the stage, like when you say beginner, you say intermediate, or you say experience, the expectation from each of these phases are going to change.
Right.
Maybe in very near future, a beginner developer is not someone who is going to start with programs ABCD,
Right.
because that has been built or given by your AI. But the expectation from you is like anything happened to that, you will be able to debug, you will be able to identify where is the problem, you'll be able to fix it back and make that code much more cleaner and usable, right, and
Right.
maintainable.
Right.
So this expectation will change, but really don't have to be in a panicking situation saying that
Yeah.
I'm gone. What will I do?
And one more point I would like to add, that programming was never a general purpose profession. It was
Of course.
always for specialists. Okay, but definitely in real world, people were doing like people without having the CSE background or people having a very general background are doing programming stuffs, because there are so many things like designing, like markup, HTML, CSS, these kind of things. They were earning. Definitely, these earnings will definitely minimized and will go away in near future, but the role of mid-level and senior programmers, I think still it's relevant for the next 10 years at least.
Okay. Yeah, great perspective. Thanks for sharing that. So, people who are listening, if you have any comments, if you want to discuss further, please put a comment below. We'll try to answer that even after this video. Great. So, I'll go to our actual topic, like of today, where we want to put more focus on is about the state management. Now, I don't want to kind of put any questions to ask you about the state management, but want to start this conversation in a way that for many developers, the word state itself is very confusing. That's what I find.
Yeah.
Because when you say state, they cannot relate to like what exactly we are going to talking about. Is it some value? Is it something that lives on client, server? What to do with it, right? And we're talking about managing the state of an application. So if you can, just delayer all these things for us, like what exactly it means and what is the application state means, then we take it forward.
Okay, as a developer, I first when I heard about state back in 6 to 7 years back, I was also confused. What is
Mm.
the state? We know that what is state in English, but what is state? But I had to dig down to understand what state means to a web application. Later, I figured out that, for example, right now, people are watching me. My head position is here. So this is one of my state, and I am moving it to right. Then it's the second state,
Mm.
and then I'm going back to left. That's the third state. So uh, if you look carefully, only the X position of my face is moving. The horizontal position of the head is moving. So we can manage my head state with the horizontal position. So that's the only state. That's the thing that is changing. That's the thing that is changing over time. The YouTube the YouTube play button, it's not
Hmm.
changing. It's
Hmm.
there, it's static. The image behind me is also static, but my only my head is moving, right? So to manage this head position, I have to just mention one state, that is the X position. The X is equal to something, and I am changing this over time. That's the simple definition of state. And in web application, if you look at a web page, for example, right now people are watching our videos. So if they're watching in YouTube, they are getting the player, and the player is having its own state, because when you click the play button, it's moving, it's playing. And when you are clicking the play button again, it's paused. So that's the
Right.
second state. So but you can manage the play and pause state with one single variable, like whether it is playing or not playing. So that's the way to think a web page, that things that are changing over time, we have to identify which things are changing over time, and we have to note down. Then the second step is that these things are changing. So these are these are my states. Later we have to uh, 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 we we can reduce the number of states by
Hmm.
checking whether one state can be derived from another state. Then we can reduce that state to one single state. So that's the simple analogy, that's the simple strategy. And one analogy I would definitely love to state, that is taking a screenshot. Consider taking a screenshot of a web page. Like for example, there is a web page, you are clicking a button. After clicking the button, something changed. So the previous one and the second one, if you take the previous one screenshot, after clicking the button, you take the second screenshot. After doing some another stuff, you take the third screenshot. And if you have hundreds of screenshots, and then you are layering it one above another, and you are switching to any state, like you can go to any screenshot, right? So that's the simple concept of state, I believe. And when I start to consider state like this screenshot analogy, state management becomes easier for me.
Hmm.
So that's my analogy. Some people understand it in different way, but that's the basic, I believe.
Yeah, I think that analogy you gave about your face and the face movement. So that from that particular thing, you can derive very easily like what is that value that is making this
Right,
face movement, and then
right,
value change
right,
as you state basically what changes.
right.
So you also mentioned about deriving things from one state, because when you talk about state management, I mean, the more thing you have in your hand, it is that difficult to manage, even
Manage.
in personal life also.
Right.
So of course, with state also, if you have more state, it is more difficult to manage. You have to manage it.
Hmm.
So you spoke about deriving, right? So do you have any principle or anything for understanding like how to derive to a new one from an existing state?
Not nothing special, because we have to think with our brain that that whether I can derive this screenshot from that stage.
Okay.
If I find any option, then I reduce that state, I remove that state, and keep and make it one single state. Then I will create a constant and calculate the derived state. That's
Mhm.
the I think way people should take.
Yeah.
And
So I think the
definitely we can use chat gpt here, definitely, because you have I think the good thing about chat gpt or whatever AI technology we're using, if you have already thought your application like this, you have
Mm,
already designed your application like
mm,
what you will do, if you can note it down in a very logical clear way, then you can just throw it to the ChatGPT window, and you can ask it to write the code for you. That's fine. That's fine, because you have to ask step by step. uh, I, I have seen people asking ChatGPT like this: develop an e-commerce application for me. That would be a blunder, because it will definitely develop a e-commerce application for you, but that you cannot manage.
mm.
You cannot manage. So that's the thing. I think step by step we can use ChatGPT, like do this for me, write the function for me that can do this kind of things. Yeah, so that will give you better control over your
Mm.
code base, and that will be effective, I believe.
Yeah, cool. So but one main thing is like we have to keep the number of state minimal as
minimal as
possible
possible.
in our code. Okay, this is we got.
And in
Now,
React documentation,
huh,
if folks go to React documentation and if they are, if they keep their patience and they're cool, if they read line by line, they will understand what I'm telling is exactly written like that. So that is one of the best documentation I've ever seen. The current React.dev documentation. I think definitely that the team behind it deserves a clap for that, because they have thought in a beginner way. They went to their beginner state and then they write the documentation. That's great.
yeah. So in the React itself, like when you talk about managing state, and this is where I will come back to my original question that I keep getting. Like there are multiple ways that you can actually manage state. In a component level, you have this use state hook through which you can do this. Then you have the reducer pattern. You go
Right.
for the use reducer for managing state. Then you have things like Redux, which come into picture, confuse everyone. Like when you need Redux, when you don't need Redux, and all that. And then there are other sister of Redux like Just and everything else. Those are tools maybe for managing state more easily that come into picture.
Right.
So for someone who is building an application with React, what is the progression they should take in terms of state management? I don't think that they should be thinking of Redux from the first day, right? There should be
No.
some progression that they should have in mind. Like every time I'm getting a application from my designer on Figma, bunch of screen. I have to develop. So I identify the state the way that you told that I have identified the state. Now what will I do? What's my progression for state management for this application?
Okay. So initially people will think that use state is enough for all type of state management.
Okay.
Later, after writing 5 to 6 components, he or she will enjoy. Oh, I know the state management and everything is working fine with use state. Why people use Redux or advanced state management technologies? Even context API might not be needed in uh, uh, in mid-size applications as well, if the composition pattern is used very effectively. If we can compose the components in a very organized way, and if we have the clear picture of our application, that what we are ultimately developing, if we have the complete picture, then we can design and reorganize the React components in such a way so that the props drilling issues or this kind of things minimizes. So if we can design like this, then it's fine. But in real world applications, our clients, they don't care about state management, they don't care about React, they don't care about anything, any technologies. They just want features. Like in day one, they asked one feature. In day two, they just changed their previous feature and then asked for another feature. So then the problem arises, because whenever a feature changes, the composition pattern might break, because suddenly you get one kind of state that's not manageable with your current composition pattern. So you have to break that composition pattern and change the tree, the React tree. So that becomes problematic. That's where context API comes in, because context API takes the context away from your component tree and keeps it in a separate place, so that you can keep the context there and takes whatever the state is needed from that context. So you don't have to change your tree structure again and again. Then the third problem comes in, because context API, whenever the context changes, the parent component, if we change the parent component, then all the child components
Re-render.
re-renders.
Yeah.
So the re-rendering issue comes into play. Then we have the concept of maintaining state slices. Like context API considers full state in a single JavaScript object or in a very bigger context like thing, but you have to slice it. So that's where the Redux concept, the slicing, the feature wise, we have to keep the state separate. So if we changed any slices of your state, then only components that depend on that slices are re-rendering. So you are minimizing the re-rendering issues. And Redux is not only for this purpose. Redux has huge role to play in terms of managing your components,
Hmm.
and states, because that's really scalable. The boilerplate that you are the Redux toolkit boilerplate is not that big. If you write it once, you can use in your other projects as well. Okay, so the good thing about Redux is whenever new feature comes in, that's scalable. You don't have to write that boilerplate again. You just create a slice, keep all your slices. For example, in application, you have, for example, a block feature. You can maintain the block slice. You have a video feature. You can maintain the video slice alone. Definitely, Redux will combine all the reducers and everything in one single position. But you can maintain. You can think like your states are isolated. That's the beautiful thing. And another very beautiful thing about Redux or any advanced state management library is that they are separating the state management from your JSX.
Hmm.
So they are taking away the complexity, the business logic away from your component tree. That's the most beautiful design pattern in React, I believe. The more lean and thin the components will be, the more presentational we can keep them. That will definitely be more manageable, I believe. So, in a nutshell, I would definitely say that there is no one single rule of saying that which state management library you have to use. For small applications, mostly use state and use reducer are sufficient. For medium size applications where context API or smaller lightweight state management solutions like Justent uh, can be used. And for large applications, I think Redux plays a very good role because Redux has some other benefits. For example, Redux combines data fetching, caching, revalidation, these
Right.
kind of things with its RTK query, Redux toolkit query. So you are getting everything in one single library like Redux.
Hmm.
And very beautiful part about Redux is that it's not changing so frequently. It's stable. It's stable for a long time. So, and the your code ultimately uh, uh, whenever I develop an application with Justent or whatever state management library or in use state or use reducer, and the similar application when I convert into Redux, my state management, my whole application structure gets really manageable, scalable, and I don't find any issues after that. So the application grows, Redux can handle that. So definitely, Redux can be considered after you have uh, uh, go to a mid state or a large state application. But for smaller and medium applications, I think use state, use reducer, context API is fine.
Cool. And for someone who is just getting started with React, for them, I don't think that they need to worry about getting so much overwhelmed with
Right.
that they have to learn Redux on the first day itself or something, some
Mm,
state management tool on the first day itself. They
mm,
probably can understand like how to identify the state, where the
right.
state should live,
Mm,
and how am I writing with those
mm,
paradigm in mind, my
mm,
component dealing with it.
mm,
Am I dealing the props too much? Then is it a context is the right way to do the usage? What is the
mm,
reducer pattern?
mm.
Probably then it is like the Redux and other stuff that they can actually getting to learn. Because for many
Absolutely.
people, I see like just getting started with the components, state and props. The question is like when Redux will start. When I'll
No, no,
get to Redux.
that's the over engineering problem that we face right from the start. Because I learned Redux at least 3 to 4 years after I have learned React. So and there are so many developers who don't know Redux at all, but
Hmm.
they're doing good things. So that's not mandatory that you have to learn Redux, but you have to understand when I need to invoke a very advanced state management library. Okay, so we need to understand that. So that's it. I think more deeply nested components, if you have very deeply nested components where you have to just pass the context from top level to bottom level, this kind of communication you need, then I think Redux comes into play. And if you are using Next.js or any kind of server-side rendering technologies, then I think the use of Redux already reduces, because you don't have any state in server side, because most of the things are actually fetched from server side. So the use of Redux really is not needed. Redux, I think, still relevant for client-side application. A very complex dashboard type of project where in one single page you have thousands of components and you have to pass your states from top level to bottom. I think that's where Redux comes in.
Yeah. There is another pattern in React for state management where you kind of combine the reducer and the context together, and then you try to do the data management. Basically, you dispatch the actions, your reducer takes care of all this logic, and then the data collectively available through context everywhere. So when someone should go for a pattern like that, basically, I mean, is I believe that it's not the pattern again to get started from the day one,
Hmm.
but probably your application need certain use case to be solved. That is the time you'll be going for a pattern like that.
Again, I would say that the complex tree structure
Hmm.
that will actually guide you whether you should go to that pattern or not. Because if your components are deeply nested, then this kind of problems will arise, and then you have to solve this with context and Redux together. And actually, we get when we are using Redux, actually we are using context as well, because Redux actually gives us a provider, and that provider is wrapping our whole application, right? So, and we are passing the store. That's actually the context. So I think it's already there. So I think a developer, if they know state very well, if they are efficient understanding what his or her states should be, and start experiencing, start coding, after 1 year, he or she will understand where things are getting complex, why I need to know Redux, or why I need to know Justent, or whatever state management solution. And if they go to server-side components, you don't need state. But for the client-side components, definitely will need states. In marketing websites, you might not need state at all. Like, for example, if you are building a blog application, or if you are building a website for a marketing company or a bank, you might not. Those are mostly information-based website,
Correct.
and 80% of websites around the world are actually this kind of things. This kind of websites, small and medium scale web applications. 20% are actually medium and large scale applications. So there you might need this kind of advanced state management things.
Great. So in 2025, when React, especially the react.dev installation page, when you go, it says that, go start with Next.js Remix.
Yeah.
So I think that's something that react.dev team, if they at all any day watch this podcast, they should change that statement a little bit, because it confuses a lot of people. A lot
Definitely.
of beginners come to me and say that React themselves are saying that don't learn React, go start with Next.js. No, that's not
I
what
think
they're
that was
saying.
I think that was a really deadly statement that they. I think they should uh, ask for pardon.
Yeah. So let's give the answer of that.
Yeah.
From your point of view, is like Next.js is definitely a great framework, but the organic way of starting Next.js. What is the most organic way of starting Next.js?
React. Start with React, and definitely the more and more organic way to start with JavaScript first. Understand JavaScript very well, because without understanding JavaScript, if you jump to React, you will just you will be lost. You will be lost in no times. And same goes for Next.js. If you jump to Next.js without learning React, same thing will happen. So in programming, not only in web development, in programming ecosystem, I already said that this is not a general purpose thing. It's not a thing. There's no shortcut in programming, I believe. I still believe there's no shortcut in programming. You have to complete the previous step, and then you can do the next step. You
Certainly.
cannot just jump to the next step without doing the previous one. So folks who have passion about programming, they should understand that, and they should keep in mind that never ever jump. Whether you write JavaScript code or not, you might write only Next.js code, you might write only React code, but you have to learn JavaScript, because what you are doing inside React, those are all JavaScript code.
Hmm.
What you are doing in the backend in Node.js, that's also a JavaScript code. And the man behind the everything behind it, the man who is, I think, the main wizard for making JavaScript like this, like always changing, ever changing, and really lively. I think Mr. Ryandel deserves a clap, because we have got React, we have got Next.js, or whatever innovation we are getting. That's because we are running JavaScript in the server side. That's why we can do this kind of things. Because before 2009, before Node.js, we have never thought like that. So I think he deserves a salute, because he is the guy who has taken JavaScript here. JavaScript is the most popular programming language, not because of Sir Brendan Eich. It's because of Mr. Randall. I personally believe that. So I think we have to understand that JavaScript is shifting. Some people say, some expert people say that JavaScript is actually heading towards PHP, where PHP was right from start. Actually, JavaScript was a front-end technology. So it's true that it will right now. It has evolved. And it has taken itself to the server side technology as well. So now it's obvious that it will erase the requirement of PHP, Python. It will compete with those programming languages, because you are ruling everything. The
Yeah.
one single programming language, that is JavaScript. So that is called the JS paradigm, the JS everywhere paradigm, we say. So that's the most popular thing, and it's making web development easier than ever, because person who are in CSE, who are not in CSE, they can access the JavaScript language. They can write in JavaScript code. Python also is a similar technology like that. But a non-CSE guy, it's really definitely tough for a non-CSE guy to go with C, Java, C++. It's really tough. But a non-CSE guy can go with JavaScript.
Yeah, that's true. And I can see a lot of examples around me, like who are not from CSE background, but they are really doing great work in terms of web development. Some of them are the full stack developer, experienced full stack developer. They don't have a CSE background,
Right.
but they know to do the logic building. They know to how to solve the problem, and that's how they have started. So
Absolutely.
one other thing that I want to bring in discussion with you, because you deal with a lot of students, you have your channel, you have the course and everywhere, right? So I'm sure that you get this question that, okay, fine, and learning JavaScript, learning Next.js, React, everything is fine, but how do I get job ready? I mean, when can I feel that, I'm ready, where my own company should hire me? It may be the case that the company don't know about you, but still at least you feel yourself like, okay, I am ready, I'm job ready. How do you give them that feeling that you are job ready? When is
The
that time
confidence.
comes?
The
Confidence.
confidence they're looking
How
for.
how they gain that confidence?
Okay. First of all, your first question, how they will understand that they're job ready.
Yeah.
When a developer reaches to a point when he can learn a new technology, an advanced technology, without taking help from other in 10 to 15 days. For example, a developer, for example, Tapushda is running a course in React, and he teaches React there, and a student comes in, he understands React, then he leaves. And after that, to learn Next.js, he can go to Next.js documentation, and he ultimately he finds out that everything is React here. Nothing is different. Everything is React. I am writing React component, but I am just changing the position. Previously, all my written components were run in the browser, but right now it's running in the server. But the syntax and everything is same. So when he can connect the previous learning with the future learning, and without taking help from other, he can go to documentation, he can dig down, he can and he can talk with ChatGPT. In 2024, he can talk with ChatGPT. He can give it a very beautiful command, and it replies, and he can solve a problem. So if he can this kind, if he is ready to do this kind of hustles, then I think he's ready. He's job ready. And adaptability is very important for a programmer. Or a job ready programmer is adaptable, whether not ready programmer is not adaptable, because you will see there are people who asks for like, you have taught me developing a e-commerce application, but you did not teach me to develop teach me how to develop a blog application.
Mm.
So considering everything in a generic way, that's the most important thing, because in my perspective, there's nothing like ERP, there's nothing like HRMS. There's no difference. At the end of the day, you are coding, you are doing the coding. For a software engineer, for a confident programmer, he will not get confused whether it's a blog application, whether it's a video streaming application, or whatever it is. He knows at the end of the day, the logics will come, and I have to write the same functions, I have to write the same classes, I have to write the same things, but things might get a bit complex in terms of volume. The volume of the code base may get bigger, but at the end of the day, all functions, all variables, they will remain the same. So if he can think like this, I think he's job ready, because that will give him confidence that, okay, I don't know Next.js, but I can
You
learn
can
it
learn it,
within
yeah.
I can learn it within 15 days
Mm.
alone.
Mm.
And if he can learn, I'm not saying that he will understand Next.js 100%. If he can actually understand 60 to 70% of his or her own, I think he's adaptive. Then it's really easy for that developer to move forward, because in companies, they will definitely get assistance from their senior developers. Okay, so constant learning, constant hustling, these things matter, not the syntax, not the how fast you are typing. Some people say that my typing speed is not that good. it, it doesn't matter, because my typing speed is worst. Even in my tutorials, you will see my hands are always shaking. So that's not an issue. So I think the confidence comes in that whether I can learn the next technology in a very short time. If that confidence is there, if you can feel that confidence, I think you are good.
So have the confidence that you are a good problem solver. You can build a logic. You have a good learnability.
Mm.
You can learn things on your own. You have that kind of individuality who can build your own stuff. Of course, there are people that you will be going and referring for more information and more things. That's why the mentors exist, right? You go to mentors, you get a lot of
Right,
mentorship,
right.
but you will be feeling confident. Okay, even somebody is giving me that hint, now I am able
Mm.
to pull it. I am
Right.
able to do it. Then you are job ready, basically. And being on the other side of the table, who is recruiting, for example, I also look for those kind of thing, right?
Mm.
It is not like I want you to make a complete syntax of Redux. We spoke about it, right? I don't.
Mhm.
You won't remember, man. I
No,
even don't want you to remember the syntax of array map method.
no.
Yeah, but if you can tell me that this is where the map will be used, that is what will make me happy.
Mm.
Because I know that you will figure out how to write a map syntax from ChatGPT, Stack Overflow, anywhere.
Mm.
But you recognize, okay, this is where I should be using map, not for each. That is
Right.
what going to make me happy.
Right. Now,
Yeah.
if you shift to Python after JavaScript, you can easily say you can talk with ChatGPT and ask it that I am a JavaScript developer. I used reduce there, array.reduce. Is there any similar method in Python? So then the experience comes in. Then you will understand the syntax is nothing.
Mm.
It's nothing. But you have to understand what array.reduce does,
Mm.
where you should introduce it, where you should use map, or where you should use for each or for. That's the important thing, I believe. But you don't have to remember how for syntax is written. You can just go to ChatGPT or go to Google and copy and paste. And after writing 3 to 4 for loops, you will not go to Google or something like that. You will write. So that God has given you that uh, capacity. So after 6 months without JavaScript, you will see that you don't know how you can declare a variable as well. Let, const. Even we face these kind of situations, because we have to shift ourselves from one technology to another. Sometimes I write in PHP, and after writing PHP code for 3 to 4 months, if I comes back to JavaScript, everything is confusing. So that's obvious. But I can get rid of this situation within 1 day or 2 day. That's the
Hmm.
thing, I think. That's the key point.
Great, great. One other thing is, okay, we spoke about this job ready, interview ready. Today, if you see the social media, especially if I name LinkedIn, for example, where people are supposed to discuss a lot of things about career, the career development, and all this kind of thing. And there are also definitely there are things like Facebook, which is like more on the personal level,
Mm.
X, where people fight. But what do you think about developer getting visibility on some of this platform? I mean, how important it is in today's age for someone to be visible on a social media in a right way? Is that something that going to get anything for them? Are they going to get any kind of opportunities? Or have you seen that is happening with anyone?
Definitely, I have the example right in front of me, Tapusda. So even myself, people did not know what Shumit Shah is before 2019, but
Mm.
people started to know what Shumit Shah is after 2019, because I started my YouTube career. I shared my knowledge. I was talking with the developers. I was getting active in the community. It In 2024 or further, I think this networking capacity,
Mm.
the visibility, the selling yourself, that's the thing I believe is most important. Because I have seen developers who knows great knowledge, who has great knowledge, but lack of networking capacity, lack of communication skill, lack of presentation skill. And I have seen also developers who knows nothing, a very
But they can talk.
limited knowledge, but they can talk. They are really smart. They know the terms. They know Redux. They know, they have heard of Next.js, but they can talk uh, 1 to 2 hours with those limited knowledge. That's the beautiful thing that you have to understand, that communication skill is very important. And today in 2024, I think we don't have to go to any physical events or something like that. We are available. We can make ourselves available through online, or even we can launch a product. Because becoming uh, in the introduction phase, I said that I am an accidental entrepreneur. Definitely I am an accidental entrepreneur. In my family, I have never seen a businessman ever. So I am the first businessman. How I became a businessman? So business was not in my blood. So it was actually accidentally happened, because some of my products clicked, some of my services clicked. Those are e-services, like internet services, and I provided those services and got it. But if someone told me that, Shumit, uh, can will you do real estate investments, or will you open a factory and run a FMCG company? Definitely I will just die. I am not a regular businessman, because regular businessmen do this kind of things. I am a programmer, but programmers have the opportunity to become an accidental entrepreneur like me or Tapusda by expressing their communication skill, by selling themselves, and valuate and enrich their valuation to the community. That's very important, I believe.
Absolutely. So yeah, please don't be uh,
Shy
shy,
and be
and
expressive.
be expressive, and also like don't have to be like in the social media to like poke others.
That
be, be in social media, have a good connections with people,
yeah,
have a good relationship. You don't know like who is going to get you the next opportunity.
right,
I will tell you
absolutely.
one great incident. Just I collected in my mind. So I've started teaching React in my Bangla channel. Okay. So there in my on my Discord there is a small group where people discuss about the task and all these things. Now I'm building this tapascript.io website. Okay, and I'm not getting any time to build this. I just asked someone that can you guys help me? Now there are a bunch of people are ready to help and build it by themselves.
Yeah,
It's an opportunity for me to get the help. It's an opportunity for them to probably work and get their code reviewed, learn from a senior developer like how to do the coding and all these things, and finally build something which will be live. So without being on social, without being on socials and connecting to right people, you will miss out on opportunities. So you should be there.
absolutely.
Good. So we are kind of coming towards the end of this discussion, and I think I was originally thinking that I'll be putting a title of this one, say state management, master state management, but I think we spoke a lot. Even we spoke about ChatGPT more than state management. But it's evident. What I want to, I'm interested to know. This is truly I don't know. So what's next for from Sumit Saha? What Sumit Saha is going to do next?
Uh, First of all, everywhere I am asked with this question, and my answer is always constant, that I am a person living in present. I have absolutely, I don't know what I will do in the next day. So that's the type of person I am, and I cannot change myself. But definitely, I have some vision that I can share. Definitely, I have some good, I have some dreams about the Learn with Shumit platform that I have developed. Definitely, that's not the business kind of thing. Learn with Shumit was always from my passion side. Business was really secondary there. I just launched some paid courses just to run the operation, just to keep the people engaged with this platform safe, secured. But otherwise, it's actually a contribution to the community that I focus on. And I have my company Analyzer that's doing business. That's fine. So, but I think I had some vision which I could not execute because of some personal reasons, some community reasons, some pushbacks, and everything. So, but definitely, my goal in, if you say, within 2 years, to build a interactive platform where programmers can, or web developers can, learn 1 to 2 technologies in a very seamless way without leaving the browser and living in the platform, pass their most of their time in the browser. So an interactive live coding experience, that's where I am currently working on. I hope I can go there. So that's the thing currently running in my mind. And I don't, as I said, I don't have future vision. Truly, I'm blind in that area. So that's the only vision that I can say right now.
Oh yeah, nice. I mean, would definitely love to see like how that thought process is
How
coming
that,
in.
so in fact, Apushda is also working on apurscript.io. You know that we are, for the last 15 years, I have developed 5 to 600 applications, small, medium, large, together, for others. But I haven't done anything for myself. Like a
Same.
Learn with Shumit platform was developed in 12 days, but uh, but but I could not put my 100% effort there. That was not my priority, because my clients were my priority all the way. So I want to go to a situation where I can put myself the highest priority, Learn with Shumit the highest priority. That's the thing that I'm working on right now.
All the best, all the best. And what you told is exactly. I mean, I've been Tabascript.io has been renewed for 6 times the domain with without any code. And this time I was very adamant that by January 18th, if I am not putting the first version of the code into the Git, I'm not going to renew that website. But I did it, and then folks are helping me out to build it. Anyways,
Absolutely.
so before we end, this is what I asked to all my guests. Uh, Tell one sentence to folks who are willing to getting started with their programming journey, who are aspiring to be programmer or software developer or maybe tomorrow software engineer. One line from you.
Uh, to learn programming, don't ride the lift right now. Use the stairs. And because if you use the lift right from start, if the lift gets turned, then you will just fall down in such a way that you cannot stand again. So I think in a learning stage, you should use the stairs, step by step. You might think that HTML, why I have to learn HTML in 2024? Don't do that, please. Learn HTML. You don't have to learn all the syntaxes, but you have to understand, so that you can read a HTML code very well. You can understand what this code is saying. You have to learn CSS as well, because these are the steps. These are the stairs. HTML, CSS, JavaScript, if you want to be a web developer. And similarly, if you are going in different path, there are also fundamentals as well. So never ever, um, always prioritize the fundamentals. Always do the fundamentals first, do the data structure and algorithm thing uh, regularly, like as much as you can. Solve the real problems frequently, and don't switch to technologies too often. Like, for example, you are learning JavaScript, and after learning it for 1 month, you just switch to Python because one big brother comes in the picture and told you JavaScript is not will not work in 2024. Go to Python, learn AI and these things. Please don't do that. Complete what you are learning, because in programming, every bit of knowledge will definitely keep you ahead from others.
Awesome. Thank you. Thank you for that advice. I'm sure that people will take that very positively. So thank you, Sumit, again for your time and all the knowledge that you shared with us in this podcast. Would like to have you again with another topic in future for sure, in the future season of it. Thank you.
Thank you,
Stay well.
Tapusda, and you are always my inspiring Dada. So thank you again for inviting me, and definitely I will invite you in one of my podcasts soon. So till then, take care, everyone.
Yeah,
Take care.
take care, everyone. Bye bye.